Hello, everyone. Welcome to Friday. I am so excited that we have this many people. We're the room at the end of the hall. I never expected this. Welcome, everyone. We have an exciting, very fun session for a Friday. I'm going to spend a few minutes talking about copilots and agents and how it all fits together. And then I'm going to hand off to the one and only Jack from LinkedIn. You probably all follow him. He's going to do a series of demos where he's going to show off how to build simple, advanced, and really complex agents. And we're going to also invite Jonathan Beck from Wells Fargo. He's going to talk about his agent that he built and has deployed across many branches at Wells Fargo. It'll be pretty fun. Lots of real practical agent stuff to end your week. With that, let me get started. The question on everyone's mind is not just about how Copilot's going to change the world, but it's going to be about how we are driving real, tangible ROI with AI. And at Microsoft, we really believe that there are two concepts that are critically important. You've heard Satya talk about this quite a bit. You've probably seen a version of this slide throughout the week, so you're going to get Thomas's take on it. Copilot is going to be all about helping with personal productivity. We believe at Microsoft that every employee will have a Copilot. It is your personal assistant. It is a one-to-one relationship with every employee and every Copilot. We also believe the other half of this magic solution is agents. And we believe agents are all about addressing business processes. Every single organization has business processes, from the simplest to the most advanced. It might be as simple as helping you process some paperwork. It might be as advanced as dealing with customer support. But the important thing is that AI will transform those business processes over time. And they'll be not like Copilot on a one-to-one basis, but it'll be one-to-many. You will have a Copilot and you will have many agents. These are expert systems. They work on behalf of teams and organizations. And ultimately, they'll be connected to Copilot in the form of the Copilot UI as AI. We talked about a lot of different agents this week if you've been following all the news. Today, we'll be focusing on this kind of first bucket of agents that you can go build in tools like Copilot Studio. But we also announced a number of agents that are going to be built by Microsoft, almost like templates or starter agents. Things like employee self-serve, which Satya announced in his keynote, that is entering into private preview. Things like SharePoint agents that are now generally available, that you can go create an agent immediately from any SharePoint site. Or what we announced last month on 10/21 in London, the Dynamics 365 pre-built agents. All of those are agents that you can go open inside of Copilot Studio and customize further, but you can get started quickly with Microsoft's pre-built agents. And then we also have talked about agents that are built by third parties. We showcased in the keynote Adobe, ServiceNow, SAP. This is all to say we believe there will be a large ecosystem. Using Satya's more adventurous language, he calls it a constellation of agents that will be supporting every single business process across your organization. And that brings us to Copilot as the UI for AI. You've seen this slide, but let me break it down a little bit. We believe that the magic interaction here is humans working with Copilot, almost as their chief of staff for an entire team of agents. How Copilot can help mediate agents, making Copilot more capable because the agents will help it get things done, and Copilot making your agent interactions more personal because it knows how to work with you. And that magical interaction is going to be what defines the future of AI, driving both personal productivity and business process optimization over the coming months and years. We believe that the best place to build these agents in a world where you're going to be building lots of them is in Copilot Studio, our low-code platform for building agents. Whether you're building them for Microsoft 365 Copilot, your websites, or your applications. We announced a number of additional great pieces of value with Copilot Studio, enabling it to be extendable in Azure AI Foundry throughout the week. And so we really believe this is the right starting point for every single scenario that you're going to start thinking about. Now, it has been a big couple months for Copilot Studio. This slide I am not going to talk through, beyond to say, hopefully you've been paying attention because we have announced a ton of really exciting new features for Copilot Studio just this week. Whether it be quality and knowledge improvements, integrations with Azure AI, our new PayGo meter that allows you to pay based off what you need, leveraging an Azure subscription and consuming your Mac. The coolest one that I think, generative IVR and autonomous agents, enabling an entirely new class of agents that respond and listen to voice and can be fully autonomous. All of this comes together, though, in what we describe as the spectrum of agents, from simple to advanced. If you think about business processes, they come in all shapes and sizes and work across all systems. And so we believe that it starts with the simplest, what we call information retrieval agents. You can think of this from a technical standpoint of agents that are leveraging RAG across a set of information in order to answer questions when a user asks. You can make these more advanced, though, by adding the ability for agents to take actions. Humans can ask the agent to essentially make API calls on their behalf into other services in order to accomplish tasks. I like to use the example of an HR agent, a knowledge retrieval agent you might use to answer the question of what is our leave of absence policy. A task-based agent you might ask to tell you how to fill out the form for applying for a leave of absence. And it will do that for you. Not just tell you how to do it, but it'll start filling out that form. It'll send a message for approval with your manager, and it'll kick off the entire process. The most advanced type of agent is what we entered into public preview on Tuesday. You can all go play with it at copilotstudio.microsoft.com. You flick a little switch that's called the Generative Orchestrator, and you unlock autonomous agent capabilities. These are cutting-edge agents that act on their own based off of triggers that you create, that self-assemble based off generalized goals and instructions that you give them in order to leverage all the building blocks that you allow them to use. I think this is a great structure as you think about taking on business processes, starting with the simplest and working your way through. What's also awesome is you can start with a simple agent in Copilot Studio and continue to build on top of it over time, making it more advanced and adding more features. And as I said, we are now going to transition to Jack here, who's going to walk you through every single one of these three agents and show you what they can do and how to build them. So with that, welcome.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Thomas.
Yeah.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Jack Robotham. I'm one of the Copilot Studio product marketing leads. Thank you all for coming, especially on a Friday morning. Hopefully you were able to join last night, Thursday, for the celebration. You might tell I'm losing my voice ever so slightly. It's been a long week, but thank you, and stick by me if it starts to crack a little bit. So Thomas very kindly talked you through that spectrum of agents. I kind of want to make that a reality for you all and show you that this is progressive capabilities. Like, organizations will start at different parts of this journey. Some people might start straight with autonomous and want to redefine their business processes. Some people might want to start just at the very beginning and start doing some simple RAG-based scenarios as well. So let's bring that to life. Hopefully you can see the retrieval agent slide. Perfect. I'm going to use this frame before every demo that we kind of walk through, just so you can kind of see the steps that they're going to take. So for this agent that we're going to do, it's going to help you get step-by-step instructions over your data. So a super simple scenario. It all starts with a trigger. Now, this trigger will be a message inside of Copilot, inside of BizChat that we all know, Microsoft 365 Copilot. We're then going to progress and give it the prompt that we want it to then be able to handle and process, which is, I'm receiving this error code. Help me understand what those steps are. How can I then resolve it? And it's going to give us the references too. It's then going to go to the agent, and it's going to look in its plan. So if you've kind of heard us talk about what makes up this agent, there's a series of like knowledge, instructions, actions, and all these different components. So for just this agent now, it's purely based on a knowledge-based component, which is SharePoint. Super simple. And then the outcome is going to help us provide that answer and solve the problem for us. Now, for this experience, what we're going to show you for the retrieval is the brand new experience that we announced on 9/16. So hopefully you all managed to see it. It's a lightweight experience of Copilot Studio embedded directly in Microsoft 365 Copilot. There's a couple of things I want to call out because not everyone kind of took it. When we announced it, not everyone noticed those kind of key changes. First one is, this is for information workers. So this is for anyone in the organization to be able to create an agent for themselves or their team. So in Microsoft, just myself, I've been creating tons of agents, sharing them with a team. I did a cool one for like LinkedIn content. I did one for like Sealer to help us with like legal content for marketing and all these other great scenarios as well. You can connect it to your enterprise data. So we've got like Microsoft Graph connectors, we've got SharePoint and many others. And you can use it, build and use it directly within the canvas of Microsoft 365 Copilot. All right, so we're going to start. I'm going to show you what it is first. So the field service agent is one that I've built, super simple. I built it in a no-code experience, and I'm going to provide that prompt that I just spoke about, which is the error code, and it's going to go provide me the response that's grounded in a series of different steps. And the main thing I want to call out here is the bottom left, where you can see the references that I can click out and learn more. Okay? So the way that I'm going to create this is in the new Agent Builder experience. You see that agent pane on the right? Click that one, opens up a no-code experience, which is purely conversational, okay? So this is why we say information workers can create it, because there's no code required. I'm gonna give my simple set of instructions, which is the field service agent. You're gonna help users with step-by-step instructions, give it the SharePoint file. You can continue to iterate those instructions like a specific tone as an example, but for now, that looks good for me. I can switch to the Configure tab, where I can continue to iterate on those instructions that I just built out via a conversation. I'm going to go to the Knowledge tab, and you see the drop-down that says From Your Organization. Now I'm going to click that. This is adding field service, Dynamics 365 field service, which is one of the connectors for the graph. I'm going to update the brand and the icon, so when I share it with my colleagues, they know what it looks like, what it does, and then I'm going to click Create. As simple as that, simple instructions, given the URL, and then I'm going to share it. Now, I want to hold here for a second, because this is one of the big questions when I say information workers are going to start building their agents, and they're like, how are we going to control it? How are we going to do all these good things? So as a maker, I use that SharePoint file, which is all our product information content that I have access to. Now, if I share it with one of you in the organization, and you don't have access to that SharePoint file, the agent is not going to start giving you access to that data. It follows and conforms to the same access policies that you define in your organization. So super important point for you all to take away there. Okay, so that was the first one. Really quick win for an organization to start to see the value of agents and in the context of Copilot, so Copilot being the UI for AI. 3 takeaways. Information workers can build agents with no code. It's grounded in your enterprise data, and it's included in Microsoft 365 Copilot licensing, so you're not having to go buy Copilot Studio standalone. Okay, so I'm really excited to be introducing Jonathan Beck on stage from Wells Fargo. He's been building out a retrieval agent with Copilot Studio, and he's going to share a bit of his experiences. So I'm going to welcome Jonathan on stage. There we go. Good to see you. He's on the clicker.
Good morning, Chicago. Hey, wait, Jack from Microsoft LinkedIn. So let me first introduce myself. So I'm Jonathan Beck. I lead automated banker support and branch procedures at Wells Fargo. My job is to give frontline employees and the human agents who support them with elevated tools to create an awesome employee experience. And if we do that right, we'll ultimately create a great customer experience. I don't know if you all know, but Jack is a visionary behind the LinkedIn for Microsoft, sharing awesome news about Copilot. He has a lot of exclusive behind-the-scenes stuff. He actually just broke 70,000 followers this morning. Congratulations. He also broke the internet last year with a prompt he created to create a cartoon avatar. And so I gave it a whirl. You might have seen this, by the way, at the Hub in the AI postcard creation. So I got a headshot created by DocuSign that many of you may have. I described what I was wearing, and here's what the prompt came back with. I was thoroughly impressed with Microsoft Designer. I might make that my new corporate headshot. But Jack, thanks so much. It's been great getting to know you and Thomas this week preparing for this.
Thank you. Yeah. See you in a minute.
Had to have a little fun on our Friday final day here. So let me set the stage for what my team does. So imagine you're in a Wells Fargo bank branch, and you ask the banker or teller you're working with to send an international wire. They say they're happy to help. They go to their computer screen, they click around, and then they look at their screen. That's what my team does. They're looking at the procedures or the steps that you need to take to perform tasks, and we make it readily available at these bankers' fingertips. It's like an airplane flying manual, like a Copilot. Get that, Jack? A Copilot? To serve our customers, our employees must master a set of documents and steps to follow these branch procedures. So now let me paint for you the opportunity. Adherence to branch banking procedures is imperative to the customer experience and risk management. Procedures can be complicated. There's a lot of them. We had search, but it was outdated, and we needed to give our branch teams an easy way to find information to help our customers. the bankers relied heavily on an internal call center to get procedural guidance versus using self-service tools. That drove high operational costs and took time away from our customers where bankers could have been deepening those relationships. So this is where the opportunity came in and where Microsoft Copilot Studio came into play. In fact, I'd like to roll a quick video to bring this to life.
The new virtual assistant chat feature helps you find the most relevant procedures with keywords.
Previously, you would just type in what you were looking for, and they would give you a list, maybe 25, 30, or hundreds of different items. But now you can just type into virtual assistant, and the top 3 choices are there for you, which are usually the most relevant.
When a customer is sitting on hold with Banker Connection, sometimes that can be an awkward interaction. The customer is just kind of sitting at the desk waiting for an answer.
So now, instead of 10 minutes, maybe 30 seconds to a minute that you're looking at it.
You don't have to rely on your memory. You don't have to rely on maybe an outdated procedure. It's going to give you the most up-to-date procedure and up-to-date contact information too, which is really helpful.
If you still need clarification, you can call Banker Connection and tell them the procedure you're looking at. Now I just need clarification on that, so it does shorten the time. Starting off, it was a little daunting.
And whenever we introduce something new to a team, there's always a little bit of hesitation at first. But I would say just even a few weeks in, everybody was really engaged around it. Everyone liked the progress that they were seeing from it. Customers want to have a consistent experience. And I think with our AI virtual assistant, they're all finding the same exact procedure.
So it gives them more confidence that the banker they're sitting with knows what their job is.
So the team that we worked with really advocated for our feedback. And we would see a change within a week or two.
Giving that feedback of common used searches, they were able to have the correct keywords that we needed.
What I hope will evolve from the AI chat is that it'll be, one, just continue to get more intuitive and more easy for my bankers to find procedures.
It'll be great when virtual assistant can go from just bringing up the procedure, but bringing up the whole concept that we're looking for.
I hope our teller line can use it more because the tellers really need to be able to find a procedure or a link or a phone number very quickly. The more they become comfortable with it, the more they become engaged with it, only it's going to help them and our customers as well.
So did anyone notice the customer in that video? Yeah, low budget. We had to save costs. So Wells Fargo's introduced this branch procedure agent to streamline information retrieval, enhance the customer experience, and reduce operational complexities. We deployed this across 4,100 of our national branch network branches nationwide, which is now used by tens of thousands of employees. In the video, you saw our agent allowing bankers to enter keywords, and the agent then clarified user intent. So you can type in wire transfer. It says, do you want to do international, domestic, incoming, outgoing? Behind the scenes, Power Automate calls a information retrieval on the branch procedure system of record and displays the results in seconds. And we're already seeing really strong business results. We're 1 month in, and we're seeing 75% adoption, which means 75% of all procedure searches are being retrieved by the agent. And bankers are giving us rave reviews, as you saw in the video, because we're cutting down on the time that they are taking to find information to support our customers. And Jack, we are just getting started.
And this is where we should have rehearsed. There you go. No, I'm kidding. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Give a clap for Jonathan, everyone. So, as you can see, it's an absolutely incredible story that JB's been working on at Wells Fargo, empowering employees. I mean, I can't imagine, if any of you are working with customers and you're under pressure and you have to find all the right answers at the right time, and you need an agent that can just give you a couple of keywords and then it gives you the response and the procedure, it's pretty transformational compared to like where you're going, where you were to where you're going. So I did have two quick questions for you. The first one is, what's it been like working with Microsoft? How's that process been building out your Copilot Studio project?
I mean, it's been an awesome experience working with Microsoft leading up to our launch. We have a really strong partnership, and Copilot gives us a great opportunity to bring this evolving technology, which is new to Wells Fargo, and helps us stay ahead of the curve. Copilot Studio made it easier for us to deploy, whereas it may have taken us 8, 9, 10, 12 months. After we cleared some initial hurdles and got a live environment, we built an MVP in 4 months' time. We rolled it out to 15 branches, collected feedback, made enhancements, rolled it out to 50 more branches, and then to all the entire branches in our network in October. Microsoft joined many of our daily stand-ups, our weekly meetings, and also brought in some representation from the customer advisory team and brought not only engineering, but also product into the mix so we can talk about best practices.
Amazing. Thanks so much for sharing. And I think the thing that I really want you to take away is like MVP in 4 months, seeing the value really quick. This is something that in Copilot Studio, you can do in a matter of in weeks at times. POCs, being able to prove out the value really quickly, extend with Azure if you need it, in more complex scenarios as well. I think I just really want to call that out. And then last question is, so as you kind of mentioned, you've been starting with retrieval, kind of what's next for the project for Copilot Studio?
Yeah, we're still in the early days of my use case. So looking ahead, I'm excited to start building conversational AI using Gen AI to not only retrieve information and also provide highly technical procedure guidance based on complex user queries. You know, we started, as we talked about, with the keywords and typing keywords into the agent. But what we're really excited about is to experiment the use of agents like we've been learning about here at Ignite. And if you've been in some of the other sessions, you may have heard how might Wells Fargo reimagine the use of agents to support our bankers to improve the time and quality spent while performing tasks, for our customers. We also have a number of other use cases in our many lines of business at Wells Fargo in the employee knowledge management space. So how can we bring these capabilities to life? We have 25 use cases in the pipeline with 4 agents already approved. And then we're also thinking about how can we bring M365 Copilot capabilities into the hands of our employees on their employee-facing apps to really promote engagement and improve workflow.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So as you can see, lots more to come for Wells Fargo. Super excited. Thank you so much for sharing,
Yeah,
JB. Big round of applause. Thanks so much. Thank you. All right. So I think that's a great example. We showed the retrieval agent directly inside of Microsoft Copilot, where you can use it as the UI for AI, but how Jonathan and the various teams have built it directly inside of their app that they use for their brand. So you can have it in your custom apps, but you can also, so you can essentially meet the users where they are. All right, so now we're going to follow that same process. We're going to go to the task agent. So Thomas kind of set the scene for this. It's not just answering questions, it's doing things for you to your line of business applications. It's modifying records, it's pulling out real-time data, and all of those good things as well. So for this agent, it's going to help with product information, similarly like we just showed in the first one, but this time it's going to start making it, based off the suggestion of the product, it's going to make an order in our supply chain management system as well. So start with the trigger. It's not going to be Copilot this time. While it is in Microsoft Teams, it's going to be a Teams chat with a group of people. Okay, so it's going to be 3 or 4 people. I'm going to paste our agent directly in the chat, and people can collaborate and ask questions with the agent. The query will be, I'm struggling with one of the products, which is the installation of cables. What's going to fix it? Is there a suggested product? And then we're going to make an order of that product as well. The plan, similarly, again, it's going to use the SharePoint product information side. I'm using SharePoint because it's such a quick win. So many organizations use it. You can use so many different data sources anyway, but it's a great example to use. And then we're going to show how we're going to build a custom connector, one of 1,500 pre-built data connectors in the Power Platform and Copilot Studio. But this is just one very easy that we can quickly win and use. And then you'll see the outcome. It will close on making the order with the product, so you can see how it's iterating from knowledge all the way to the outcome and the order. Now, I'm going to show you another way of building an agent in this demo. So we're going to start in SharePoint this time. We're going to easily highlight some of our documents, as Satya kind of said. Every SharePoint site is going to have its own agent. So we're going to highlight some of these different ones for product maintenance. All you have to do is highlight the files and click Create, Share, and I'm going to take that URL, and I'm going to paste that directly inside of our Teams chat. So a couple of my colleagues are struggling with some of the product information, like the installation cables that we just spoke about. We're going to click Add it to the chat, and then it's ready there for everyone else to be able to use. They're going to paste in their questions, and it's going to follow the same process that we just spoke about in the first demo, where it's going to provide a summary, index over that SharePoint files, give you the references, and as you can see, it's suggesting a brand new product for me. Super simple, again, built in a couple of minutes. Now we're in Copilot Studio, the full product inside the web browser. We've got that same agent that we've just built, and we're going to scroll down to actions, and this is where we're going to start doing the doing for the agent. So we're going to click Add an Action, and this is where you can pick from the 1,500 pre-built data connectors, but for this instance, I'm just going to create my own with a custom API. I'm going to pick supply chain management. I'm going to give it a description. This is essentially like a natural language description that you'd use for the LLM to know when to call it, essentially. And I'm going to click publish, as simple as that. I could add 20 different actions if I wanted to, and the orchestrator would then decide when to call each of the different actions, but for this, it's kind of an easy way just to prove it here. I'm going to go back to Microsoft Teams. I've already done the update, so it's already in the chat. It suggested the product. I'm going to say, can you help me order 200 of the product you just recommended? And it's going to then call the supply chain management system in the back end and approve and make that order. So those are two examples to how you can kind of start to build out agents and start small and then start to think big as you start to prove value and see the ROI come out. 3 takeaways for this one. You can extend existing agents from SharePoint, which is you're going to expect a lot of users starting to build their agents from that format in the first place. Agents aren't just here to answer your questions. I know RAG has been such a big term over the last year, but the reality is when you start to see true business value is when they can integrate with your enterprise systems. And then use these pre-built out-of-the-box connectors. Many organizations have APIs and REST APIs and all these good things, but you can get started so quickly, and this is the benefit of being built upon from the Power Platform and Copilot Studio. Now we're on to the very exciting stuff, which is autonomous agents. And Thomas kind of alluded to this again and talked about where agents are going. This is about flipping agents on their head. It's not just a conversational trigger that we just showed in the first 2 demos where it's a human saying, can you help me with this? And then it goes, yep, I'm going to find you the answer. Yep, I'm going to do this task. It's that they're going to start to be proactive in the way that they do their work. They're going to be looking for signals in line of business applications, whether it's a change in a record, like a change in a CRM, a brand new employee being added to a HRM system, an email arriving, a file being created in SharePoint files. There's so many different triggers that you can have. And then the agents will use that and then reason and decide when to then do the work based off those triggers, essentially. Now, I'm going to call out, it automates long-running processes. Traditional chatbots that people think about, it's session-based. Like you ask it a question, it forgets who you are, and then it just discontinues. You come back a week later, you restart, introducing your name, all the problems, and you go from there. These autonomous agents will do it over a long-running process. So it might be weeks, it might be even months, it might be checking in with customers, it might be operating and all those sort of good things. It dynamically reasons over the capabilities. So this is something I really want to call out, is that at runtime, so when the agent is being called based off these triggers, it will decide what components to use, and it's never the same each time. So it might use 10 steps for one customer or employee request, and it might use 5 for another. So this is where we start to think about it is reasoning at real time which components are best to get to the problem. So traditional chatbots, if you've all used them in the past, they've been pretty frustrating because you're having to define these core set of fixed rules that are used. Now everything is down to the orchestrator able to then decide based off your instructions that you provide. You can make it and learn it and improve it because you saw the instructions, the natural language. You can easily update records, update the lines of text to make sure they're more relevant. And then human guardrails are super important. We're not just saying you build this agent, you just chuck it all your APIs and off you go. You give it the set of instructions. You tell it what it can do. And you have the visibility of the analytics dashboard. And you can delve deeper into each of the different rows. And I'll show you a little bit of that in a moment. Now, I want to start with, we're going to do this in the context of pets at home. If you've heard of pets at home, maybe if you're from the UK, you can tell by my accent. Bought my first fish from there, so you all know. They were part of the early access program for the autonomous agents, and they started to build one for profit protection. And essentially, it's around fraud processes, making sure that the agents are helping the human team scale when they're reviewing fraud processes, essentially. So I'm going to let you play this. I'm going to play this video, and then we'll show you how you can completely transform customer service with autonomous agents.
Pets at Home is a UK leading pet care provider, and we have 450 stores across the United Kingdom.
Got a long list of areas that we actually want to bring AI to bear to help us. But like any retailer, fraud is an inevitable part of the business, particularly as we see more and more of our activity online, and we're not immune to that.
For retailers across the globe, online fraud is over $100 billion challenge. What we've been doing with the fraud team is looking to take a very data-intensive and manual exercise of investigating potentially fraud scenarios and provide them with AI assistance effectively.
A partner like Microsoft and how much they're investing in AI, can't be matched anywhere else.
We've been lucky enough to be one of the early adopters of the new Copilot agents. Agents are effectively digital assistants powered by AI that can take the heavy workload in an automated way off our colleagues. When a potential fraud scenario is identified, the Copilot agent will autonomously go and gather the relevant information from that source system, perform an analysis, and provide that analysis back to the fraud colleague. That always ensures that a human's in the loop, and it can integrate seamlessly with our existing ecosystem. Using the agent allows us to provide even image analysis where it can identify whether boxes have been damaged, whether they have been delivered, even if that image has been used before in other claims.
I see Copilot agents as an extension of my team. It is low code and it speaks our language. So what would previously take us 20 to 30 minutes, the Copilot agent can do that within seconds. We have to act quickly, and this enables us to do that.
We're identifying fraud 10 times faster, and the fraud department can actually process 20 times more cases a day than we could before.
It enables us to operate at scale and at speed, efficiently, accurately. This is a fraud fighter's dream.
It's a revolution, and we think that the savings will amount to 7 figures.
As we build these agents into more and more of our processes and our consumer and colleague journeys, sky's the limit about how efficient we could actually get. The potential's unlimited.
All right. So that's just an example that Pets at Home were doing as part of the Early Access program. There's so many great things to call out there. First, I'd love to work there. I don't know about you having dogs walk around and everything else. The stats that they called out are potential savings of 7 figures just as part of that Early Access program. So just doing a prototype and potentially seeing that value already is incredibly powerful. And then the second part is the empowerments of humans. I think when we start to use the term autonomous agents, we start to think human replacement. It's not that. It's about scaling your teams like no matter before, the way that they've never done before. So think about these humans, the team in the fraud team, they're having to do this process by process. They're having to do all the research, all the allocations. I'm trying to think of the best word to describe fraud, but they essentially do a long series of steps. It takes them a long time. Now the autonomous agent is getting all that research process and then putting it in the hands of the agents to do it in the right way, the people agents. Okay, so back to this process again. Autonomous agents, we're going to show you how you can build one for customer service. So not just doing kind of the refunds and fraud, but doing so much more, helping provide product information, helping customers to have that end-to-end process before having to hit a human that's kind of tends to be more costly. So helping you focus on those beginning ones. This time we're going to start with a trigger that's an email. So it's not someone just saying, hey, I'm stuck, can you help me in Teams or anything like that. It's going to be an open-ended email saying, I've bought this product, I'm stuck, can you help me? They've bought an aquarium. I'm not sure how to set it up, I want a refund. Now, instantly as a company, you're thinking, how can I help that customer not want to refund and get them successful before you're having to refund for profit protection, essentially. Then you notice for the plan for this autonomous agent, it's not as simple as the first two, which were all examples. There's going to be a lot more knowledge that's being used, many more APIs and actions, and even calling Azure AI Search for one of the image processing in that instance as well. And then the outcome for this, I'm going to show you 2 scenarios. One where I've bought an aquarium and I'm stuck. Can you help me with some guidance? And then I've bought a product, it's broken, and I need help. I need the refund, and how it's going to seamlessly escalate to a human in BizChat to help you then successfully manage that refund process. Okay. So we're on the Pets at Home website. We've bought the aquarium. I've already told you I love fish, so maybe this is me in real time. I'm struggling to set it up. Maybe the filter's struggling. I'm not really sure how to get the water levels right. So I'm going to send an email, and I'm going to send that to the team at Pets at Home, and I'm going to say, I want a refund. I need you to help. Now, what's going to happen behind the scenes is the agent takes all of that context, and notice it's open-ended. It's not a simple form. It could go in so many different directions. It's going to take the customer details. It's going to take the product details. It's going to query them with the back-end systems to see what orders they've done in the past, and it's going to rationalize on what that issue is. And then it's going to produce an email dynamically, as we spoke about, training those components to provide the right response for that customer. This is what it's going to look like. A simple example, clear email that puts together who the customer is, what the product was purchased. Here's a knowledge base article and a video to how you can help overcome that and help them prevent having to do that refund at the real time. Now, no human involvement here. It's been able to handle this simple request here. We're going to go into Copilot Studio and show you how this was built for this autonomous agent. We have a series of instructions, again, natural language, so you can iterate and improve these as you need. For this, you can see it's broken down for refund, return and replacements, and the next steps that are going to happen. Now, every agent has a series of components that we spoke about. For this one, the triggers is how the agent's going to start doing their work. We've got an email, but it could be if you're using a CRM for service or case management. When a record's been created there, it could also start the work, or even just a traditional chatbot starting that as well. We're going to go to knowledge. Now, I want to hold here because we've emphasized in some of these demos SharePoint quite a few times. You can bring in analytical data like Microsoft Fabric coming soon, business productivity data like Dataverse, Salesforce, ServiceNow, many of the connectors from the Microsoft Graph as well as all your productivity data and website content as well. So you pick it and make it work for your organization, essentially. We'll go to actions. I love to call out that we use Power Automate as the action layer for Copilot Studio. So if you've built automation today for your business processes and you're thinking, how could I create a series of processes, construct them together and turn it into like an agent that can handle a job, start to reuse that content and bring this into agents to start to redefine the business processes and figure out when these Power Automate should then start to be called. So you can see things like creating cases, checking order history, and everything in between there. Now I'm going to go to the activity tab. And I spoke about knowing what the agent's doing because it can sound, at times, it can sound a bit scary. We're going to have an agent to start doing its work autonomously and based off these triggers. You have all the insight here. This is the one that you just saw, the example where it managed the email. It sent back the example of the aquarium. Here's some example knowledge that we want to use. So it took the human request from Power Automate. It's checked the order details. It's checked the common product issues. It's done a knowledge source retrieval. And you can see there's 4 different examples there, and you can see which one it's picked as an example. So even though we had it grounded in websites, files, SharePoints, Dataverse, it's decided to go for this, this public website instead. And then it's going to send a follow-up email. Now, going back to the activity pane, you have insight into the KPIs of how it's performing, the total sessions, the total sessions completed, satisfaction scores, so you can start to see the business value and can prove that for you very quickly. But I want to focus on a more complex example because the reality is not everything's as easy as just saying, I'm stuck with this problem, here's a knowledge-based article, here's the response. Agents have been able to do that for a long time. So I want to show you a more complex one where we will do a series of different components that will help you do that. So for this one, this is about a damaged product that's been Pets at Home has sent a product out, maybe it's got damaged in delivery, and you can see this is a completely different set of steps than the previous one. I think the last one was like 5. This time, it's received the request, it's checked the the customer's order information, it's done the issues raised, and it's sent up a follow-up email because they've said, I've got a product damaged, and we need you to send us an image of the actual product rather than just so we can do that extra clarification. Now, if a human was doing that, it gets very overwhelming when you're starting to do that for thousands of customers. The agent's going to do that automatically. Now, if I focus on the right, you can see the reasoning of the agent, why it's taken certain decision paths that have taken as part of this flow. I want to focus on the review, analyze, image received, before sending up a follow email, of course, which I just spoke about. The review, analyze, image is the Azure AI search. So it's going to take that response from the customer in the email, it's going to review that image, and then it's going to then make a decision to whether it needs to go to a human or not, or whether it just needs to say to the customer, unfortunately, we don't believe this is a real image or anything like that. And that's where we start to think about fraud protection and how the agent's starting to help identify profit protection, essentially. For this case, the agent has a set of instructions to say that because the image is legit, looks good, and it's over a certain value, maybe $100, maybe £100, £200, that we need to escalate to a human and keeping the human in the loop for this instance. So we're going to go into Copilot in BizChat, and you see a notification that's happening, and I don't know if it's flickering for you. We've got this simple card that's giving an overview to the human of what it's been up to, why it's took this certain path, and we can easily approve that process, keeping Copilot as the UI for AI. So while the agent's doing work behind the scenes as the autonomy layer, it's going to always bring the human in the loop when needed in their place of work. Now, that all looks good. We have proved the refund. It all looks legit. It's then going to continue to then manage that refund and get that sent out to the customer. But that's just an example of how we're flipping it from human always being, having to do every single process, to now them being on the most important parts, like the parts where they're protecting the revenue and the most critical cases, and allowing the agent to do the rest of it, essentially. Here, I just want to show on the left, Thomas kind of said, constellation of agents. You can build so many different agents for your different functions, from marketing, IT, sales, customer service, all those different things. So I just want you to get creative as you start to think about all those good things. 3 takeaways for these autonomous agents. They can initiate tasks autonomously based off triggers and events around your ecosystem, your technology ecosystem. You have the visibility into how they're performing, the analytics, and the different steps that they're taking, so you can understand the reasoning and why they've taken that path. And then you have the human in the loop when needed, which is super important. Now I'm going to recap. What you just saw across these 4 are examples to what you can build. Like I kind of said, organizations may start on the left and start to prove value and distribute to information workers, or they might start in the middle with some task-based agents for their customer service teams, or they might go full autonomous and start to put it in front of their customers and employees to start to automate those processes proactively and independently. The reality is you can be wherever on this spectrum. There's no better or worse. It depends on the complexity of your use case. Final slide before I go back to Thomas, which is that you're going to design your agents your way. I've shown you examples of different data connectors and all those good things. The exciting part is you get to pick what you want to do for your agent. So you can tell it when to act. You can tell it to be in a conversational pane like Teams, or you can tell it to interact and start its work when it's been added in a record or a CRM. You can connect it to your knowledge and your actions, as I kind of mentioned, business data, productivity data, analytical data, with all the different connectors that we're allowing you to get started even quicker. If it is a conversational experience, you can put it on different channels that you want. You might want to put it on your website. You might want to be able to put it on Microsoft Teams. You might want to put it on social media as a customer service form. And then the best part, and I haven't talked about it too much, is let the end user interact with the agent in their style. So text is a really common modality for these agents. We've just, Thomas mentioned about generative IVR, the ability to call these up via telephone and start to have a conversation there with your voice. Rich adaptive cards, so giving them images or forms that they can fill out in the context of the agent, or even just giving them a file as a customer. Here's the file, this is the image, and they're going to understand what's in the context of that file as well. So your agent, your way. Thank you so much for sticking by me for the last 20 minutes talking about all these different demos. Hopefully it's brought to life what you could actually do with agents inside a Copilot Studio. This is just the beginning. Please share all your different stories. I'd love to hear any ideas that you have after the session. I'm going to hand you over to Thomas for the last 2 minutes. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Jack. I get the easiest job, which is like the intro and the wrap up. Like Jack had to do all the hard work. Thank you, JB, as well, for sharing that incredible story of Wells Fargo. Such a cool example of how you are rolling out broadly just the simplest of agents, but the potential continues to grow here. We just ended on autonomous agents, and I want to make one last big idea, which is that Microsoft's mission statement is to empower every individual to achieve more. And core to even as we're designing those autonomous agents is how humans remain in the loop. When we talk about Copilot as the UI for AI, it is not just about Copilot and agents. It is about humans. And at the end of the day, when you see those examples like Pets at Home, where the agent is taking off some of the load, really what it's doing is filtering to the most important work for humans to get done. The cases where it needs to be escalated to a human, we do, and we do them well. And so I just want you all, as you go back, I will challenge you all to think about business processes. Think about what is that first business process you want to take on. But also remember that ultimately our goal with all of this technology is about the humans at the center. My advice is think about this spectrum and think about kind of 3 different ways you can get started. The first I bet every single one of your organizations has Power Automate flows that already exist today, and I hope that today you have some ideas of how you could add generative AI to them to make them better. Often those flows involve taking actions, and so I think those task-based agents are going to be a great example of that. 2, your end users have all kinds of business processes that I bet your IT department doesn't even know about. Annoying business processes, the ones where you're getting approvals from a team of people. Think about how they can start empowering themselves using tools like the first demo we did with Agent Builder to build the simplest of agents that are essentially refocusing of Microsoft 365 BizChat. And then finally, I challenge you all not to try and build the one agent to rule them all, but to think about what is the cool, interesting single scenario that you want to go try and play with an autonomous agent on. This is all about ROI right now. And the best way you're going to be able to prove out the ROI of AI is starting with that one scenario that you nail that will lead to the next scenario and the next scenario. And so I'm going to skip over a couple slides here. And of course, we're going to say that it can address all kinds of different verticals across the organization. And we're going to say get started with a key business problem, as I just said. But I'm going to leave you here with some resources. Please follow us. I will say that Copilot Studio is going to continue to evolve rapidly. The journey we've been on over the past 2 months has been incredibly fast as we've introduced agents, and it will continue at this pace. I will say one last thing not in this resource list. You got to hear from Jack directly. He also has an exclusive explainer video that you can take back to your teams, available on his LinkedIn, that does a simple job of explaining copilots and agents. It's 1.5 minutes. It's like a chalk talk. It is the perfect starter for all your folks back home that didn't get to enjoy this week with all of us. And with that, I wish you all safe travels. Thank you very much, and I hope you had a wonderful night.